Alright, hello everyone. I'm gonna try and talk quickly because I cannot find the battery charger of this camera. And also, once again, they're still working outside. I swear, if you go and look at my other wrap-ups, you can hear them always working outside since like October. Anyway, welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of March. And I'm going to try my best to remember them, okay? So, starting off the month of March, very excited about this. Oh, also, this is my book card. Sorry if you can't see it. Maybe I should start by getting all the books out. I picked up Gemini. This is the second book in the Illuminati series. I don't know if I'm saying that word correctly, but I have really enjoyed this book. It's very unique versus all the other books I'm reading. This book, you never get a perspective from one of the characters. Everything is organized through transcripts, through computer logs, and I just love it so much. So this is like literally, I love the artwork in here. It's so pretty. So the first book, you're following the character Ezra and Katie, who are in high school when their world is under attack and they're forced to get on the spaceships and go live in outer space. This book follows them, but it's going to follow, I believe you're on a different ship. Like the ships sometimes confuse me a little bit, but you're on a different ship and you're following two completely different characters, which kind of threw me. I thought it was going to be Ezra and Katie still, and I was kind of sad to realize it wasn't them. But I actually really enjoyed the plot in this one. I thought it was so interesting. So your two characters are Hannah, who is the captain's daughter. So she's seen as this like spoiled princess. And then you have Nick, who he kind of belongs in like this crime family, which is kind of fun. So he gets all the like secret stuff to people, like drugs and whatever else they want. When all suddenly their ship is under attack by this, I don't know, by like an enemy ship. Anyway, they're trying to take over, and Nick and Hannah are just trying to escape. And there's also like little elements of like plagues, like deadly plagues breaking out on the, like a deadly virus breaking out on the ship. And I just love this so much. I love the writing, and I just think the way that this book is written is so unique. Give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Like, I truly enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to read the next one. It is on my TBR right there. Very good start to my month. I picked up a book that I meant to read in February, but didn't get around to it, which is The Do-Over. Obviously, it's giving very much Valentine vibes. And I actually got this book from Valentine's for my mother. I just love the, I don't know what you call this. It's not spray paint, but whatever. I love the edges. So this is a rom-com, obviously. I'm not too big on rom-coms, but I actually wanted to read it. It was pretty, and I kind of like just a nice little read between classes. So I picked this up, and you're following, also I've heard about this from my YouTuber that I watch. So you're following the character Emily Hornby, I don't know. But basically, she's like this perfect daughter. She gets straight A's. She does what she's supposed to do. She's a people pleaser. She always acts the way people want her to act, or she thinks that they want her to act. Just like she wants to like easily get along with it. It's Valentine's Day, and I don't remember exactly like what caused it, but basically she is repeating the same day over and over, and she learns like more about herself and more about like confidence, more about wanting to do things for herself versus other people. I really like the beginning of this. At the beginning, this was very, very interesting. I do remember that. I was never bored with like her repeating days. I think there's only like 3 days she actually repeats in here that are like in the story. And there is obviously a love interest. He's giving me very like bad boy vibes. Okay, he kind of, I don't remember if it was broody. I don't remember. But I give this 3 out of 5. Like, it was interesting. I really liked the beginning, but I did get a little bored towards like the middle and the way it ended. I didn't love it, but it was still interesting. It was just like a cutesy little read, and that's all I can tell you because that's all I remember. And then I continued a Kindle Unlimited series I started a while ago, which is called, well, it's not like a trilogy, but like this duology is connected to the first book. So, Queen Under the Dome, is that the book? Hold on. Whatever, I don't care. So the first book is Queen of the Dome. It's a fantasy book, and it does a thing where typical fantasy books do, where it's third perspective and the characters like break mid paragraphs, which I've gotten more comfortable with reading because I've read a lot of books that do that, so it doesn't like confuse me anymore. Like the very first book I read that did that was Throne of Glass. No, it was Crimson City. Crimson City was my very first book that did that, and it confused me. But now I gotta hang up like understanding it. Anyway, Queen of Dome, you are following the character Cade, who, in order to protect his brother and his father, he goes, oh my gosh, do I remember the plot? I read this like back in October. No, I read this in the summer. Anyway, he is sent to, I think in order to protect his little brother, he goes to the Dome, which is where the queen resides. And basically his father and brother are, they did something. Treason against the queen. I don't remember what they did, but he's basically about to be executed for their crimes, and the queen decides that she can't go through with it, and Cade is the queen's prisoner. And then there's like multiple characters, like his best friend, which the romance, you're kidding me. Anyway, the best friend and the brother go to the Dome to try and rescue Cade. And I actually really like the book. It's very interesting, and I get that book, I believe, a 3 out of 5 if I remember correctly. But anyway, then I just read the duet, which follows directly after this. I remember it was a big time gap, which is the reason I didn't continue immediately after reading the first book. Anyway, it's King Apardum Outlaws. So the second book is 6-7 years after it. You're following the brother, who's Cassian, and he's kind of dealing with the aftermath of what happened during, like, there's a whole war, not like war, but you know, like the castle was under attack, and he had to do something in order to protect his brother, and he's dealing with the consequence of what he did like 7 years later. And you're also, a main character is, I forgot the girl's name, the Queen Sentinel. I really like the character Sentinel. She's like the character who, they're very like statistical thinking, like they're really intelligent, but they kind of struggle with like social skills. First book of duet I thought was very interesting. The romance is definitely a big plot in the book versus like the fantasy element or the action going on. So I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. Like, I enjoyed it. It was fun, entertaining. I just didn't love it. Then, and also the ending, it was like open-ended. It was like those endings that say like to be continued. So I went to the third and final book of the series, second book of the duet. Hated it. Absolutely hated it. I hated the Salem's development and her character. Like, she went from this like statistical thinker to like struggling with social skills, which I thought she was hilarious. Like, her character was so funny. It's like in the first book, the duet. I did not like her development in the end of the duet. Like, she became like this super crazy. The acting scene in the end didn't make any sense. Like, the whole point of the villain made no sense. I did not like it. I give it a 1 star. Definitely, if you want to read the duet, read the first book, because it doesn't like recap. I was so confused while reading the first book and duet, like halfway through, trying to figure out like who all these characters are and like what was going on. It took me a minute to understand, and I don't think I understand very well. This is a book my boyfriend picked out. I read this when I was on my Minnesota trip. We went there for spring break. Anyway, so this book is Hunted. This is a thriller. I love or hate thrillers. There's no in between. The character Eileen Hirschberger, she goes away on a trip. I think it's like spring break for her school, and she takes a lot of trip by herself. She's very independent, and she decides to go on this hike to the Ashlew Forest. It's like this giant forest. It's easy to get lost here. It's like, it's really big, okay? And she goes by herself, and she goes missing. So the main character, Chris, and his friends decide that the police aren't doing enough to help his sister. They tell him that they should assume that she's dead. Like, when you're lost in this forest, it's very difficult to retrieve them, and like you can only survive so long with the conditions in these forests. So Chris and his friends decide that they're going to take it into their own hands, and they are going to go into the forest and look for her. Now, I actually really enjoyed this book. I like this thriller because the characters were enjoyable. One thing about thrillers, I hate when the characters are just so annoying and irritating, and I feel like I can't root for them. So I really enjoy this book. I switch between multiple characters, but mostly you stay with Chris and also the detective, who is first on the case for Aylin, who assumes it's just like a regular person going missing, and then as time goes on, she discovers there's something odd about this case, and there's something odd going on in her department, and I really liked it. I liked the back and forth. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was so interesting, and I read this book like in 2 days. It was so good. Now, it's not like your usual like fast-paced thriller, but I truly enjoyed it, and I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's probably more like it's not a murder mystery. It's like, well, I don't know, but I'm gonna call it a thriller. Yeah, it was fun. And then I read Chain of Iron. This is Last Hours book number 2 by Cassandra Clare. So this series, it kind of like, it's not a part of the Infernal Devices, but it definitely follows it. You're following the children from the characters from Infernal Devices, and I actually really enjoyed this book, this series. I love the Infernal Devices. I love Last Hours. So Last Hours, you're following like multiple characters. You're following all the children from the Infernal Devices. I really like this book. It gives you like very like Bridgerton mixed with supernatural. So the children, they are shadow hunters. It means they hunt demons, and they're in this Victorian airs like Bridgerton. Like there's balls, and like there's like the girls have to be worried about like the reputation. The romance is so good. Now I will say, for fantasy book, is not very like action packed. It's not fast paced. Her writing, I feel like, is very like more slower, and like I don't know how to describe the writing, but there's definitely 90% of the book is building up the characters, building up the relationships, and each character will be dealing with like a certain plot that will like be pushed back when something else happens to this one character, and that's kind of like how you go through the book. And one thing I have noticed about her writing is that all of her books like have the same villain for a series. So like the first, second, and third book will be following the same villain that like pop up in the books, but like the final battle will be till the third book. Anyway, so the second book I give a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I do wish there was like more action in her books, but I do love them. My camera's gonna die, so we're gonna quickly go with this, and I'm gonna cry because I don't know where my battery charger is. And then I read Powerless. I have been debating and kind of putting this book off from reading because I believe it came out around the same time Lightlark came out, and I'm a big Lightlark girl. I love Lightlark, like one of my favorite fantasy books. Anyway, I got on Libby and it finally came, Powerless. I picked it up and I was severely disappointed. So Powerless, you're following the character Peyton, who kind of lives at, it's called the slums. She is definitely a part of the lower class, and they call themselves mundanes, who have like little access to power. But in Peyton's case, she has no power, which is a crime, and they execute people who are called ordinaries, which is what Peyton is. And then your other character is Kai Malachi. His real name's Malachi, his name is Kai, and he is the king's, I want to say killer, that's not his real name, enforcer, the king's enforcer. So he goes out and like, if there's a crime made, he will punish you. Anyway, so in his like, one of his job is to actually seek out the ordinaries that are hiding in plain sight and execute them. And so the book is actually about Peyton going into these trials that I don't remember or if they said when it was present, but basically they select multiple people to present in these trials to deem it like they're worthy or something. I don't remember. But yeah, so these trials, Peyton's forced into these trials after helping the enforcer, and then she has to be able to survive these trials, trick the kingdom into thinking that she is not an orient, that she has powers. And yeah, so like it was okay. It was definitely like, for my liking, it was too similar to Hunger Games. Like there's very like detailed. I was like, ooh, that's like very close like what happens in Hunger Games. And it was also very similar to Red Queen, which I was like, this feels like Red Queen, until I realized someone already, like, I think it's on the back book, like Hunger Games tied Red Queen, which is exactly it. So if you're looking for something similar to those two books, definitely read this one. Like I said, it was okay. It was decent. The writing was better than I thought it was gonna be. I did like the writing. My camera did die, but really quickly. So Powerless, like I said, it's basically Red Queen and Hunger Games like mixed together. And like I said, it was decent. It was okay. I didn't love it. I'm not, sorry, that was on my face all the time. I was not obsessed with like everyone else was, but it was a decent read. I think I will pick up the second book because I'm intrigued about the interaction between two characters. But other than that, like, it was okay. I just wasn't obsessed with it. And the whole point of her being an ordinary kind of like her power that she had, or she pretended she had, was like, you might as well just be an ordinary. So anyway, that's what I thought of it. I didn't love it. I'm kind of disappointed I didn't like it as much as everyone else did. So I literally have not thought about the book since I put it down, which is kind of sad. But yeah, that is all the books I read in the month of March. And here's a look at my TBR. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!